The capital buzzed with rumors that the prince loved me more than himself. Yet after his coronation, he crowned a maid from my household as empress. If it weren't for you shielding her from open and hidden attacks, you'd have been dead long ago. He had my entire family executed by slow slicing, hung on the city walls for all to mock and scorn. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on my wedding night. I took charge and betrothed the prince's most beloved maid to a stable hand. Enraged, he stabbed the stable hand to death. I sneered. Can't even handle that? Then from now on, whatever brings you joy will be my failure. I toyed with a dagger as a group of maids stood before me. Heads bowed. My gaze settled on the second-to-last figure. Lin Miaoan. For the first time across 2 lifetimes, I truly studied her. Where in Lin Miaoan's delicate, innocent appearance was the viciousness that had flayed my face in the past life. Laughing. How amusing. I lifted her chin with the dagger, my smile not reaching my eyes. You're quite pretty. I'll bestow you upon the stable hand. Under her terrified gaze, the stable hand beside her knelt forcefully to the ground. Your Highness, you flatter this humble servant. How could I ever be worthy of Miss Miaoan? Lin Miaoan then knelt as well, her tone resolute. Forgive me, Your Highness. This servant already has a beloved. I let out a cold laugh, twisting the blade's edge to slice directly toward her neck. The blade grazed her skin, turning her face deathly pale. Will you marry him? Or not? Lin Miaoan bit her lip, refusing to speak. She seemed utterly convinced she wouldn't be harmed. I waved my hand decisively. Take her to put on the wedding gown. Servants dragged her out. Lin Miaoan panicked completely. Doesn't the princess consort fear the prince will return and blame her? Help! Help! Fury twisted into laughter. I yanked Lin Miaoan's hair and slapped her across the face. You worthless slut. Trying to drive a wedge between me and the prince, I calmly wiped the blood from my hand with a silk handkerchief. 20 lashes as a warning. Afterward, she'll consummate the marriage with the stable hand. The others watched in horror. The first stroke sent Lin Miaoan shrieking. After 3 strokes, a figure in black knelt before me. Finally revealed, the secret guard Li Xing had stationed beside Lin Miaoan. Your Highness, forgive me. This Miss Miaoan is... The guard faltered, unable to continue. After all, Li Xing had ordered them to keep Lin Miaoan's identity strictly confidential. I lowered my gaze, suppressing the hatred in my eyes, while my peripheral vision caught Lin Miaoan's delighted expression. I covered my lips with a silk handkerchief to stifle my laughter. So you're the beloved of this worthless wench, are you? My gaze swept over the 3 of them, heedless of their shock. Since they've committed indecency, one must die. But which one? No. He isn't. Lin Miaoan's cry was cut short as my personal maid, Huaner, struck her unconscious with a palm strike. You. Then. I pointed at the secret guard, meeting his horrified gaze. In the next instant, my men dragged him away. Tonight, I shall witness their wedding night. With those words, I turned and left. The coachman and the secret guard both had dishonored my family's women in my past life. I can't wait to see Li Xing's expression when he returns tomorrow. Back in my chambers, I immediately instructed Huaner, tonight, have several men from the general's residence guard the door. And then, as I spoke, a blush swiftly spread across Huaner's cheeks. I raised my hand to gently rub the cheek of this little maid who had died for me under Li Xing's blade in my past life. Huaner, trust me. I have my reasons for doing this. Huaner nodded firmly, yes. Miss. Whatever you ask Huaner to do, Huaner will do. A faint smile curved my lips as I slowly walked outside, lifting my gaze to the bright, round moon. My thoughts drifted back to my past life. Li Xing's words, pitiful bones by the wooding river. Still the beloved in a maiden's spring dreams. I staked everything on the general's mansion to help him seize the throne. The reason was simple. Countless soldiers of the Ning family had fallen on the battlefield, including my second brother. I never expected perfect harmony, I only wished for mutual respect. Yet Li Xing's feigned devotion ultimately made me lose myself. But on the very day after his ascension, he fabricated a baseless charge and exterminated my entire Ning family. Through this, he elevated his true love, Lin Miaoan, to the position of empress. He climbed to power by trampling on the blood of our Ning family's soldiers, then hastened to eradicate our Ning family's forces. My eyes blazed crimson. Only by clutching a tree could I barely steady my trembling body, consumed by hatred. This lifetime, I will make you repay every single debt owed to the Ning family. Huana returned, panting from her quick run. Miss, the prince has returned. He's in the bridal chamber now. I froze. He's back earlier than in my previous life. It seems today's news reached his ears. For his beloved, he rushed back overnight. But his return is perfectly timed. Have you handled the matter I entrusted to you? Huan hesitated for a moment before whispering. As you instructed. Miss. What a large bed. And that sound. I chuckled. Go outside and welcome the distinguished guest inside. Distinguished guest? Who would be a distinguished guest so late at night? Xiao Huan was puzzled but obediently ran outside as instructed. The grand drama was about to begin. Lin Miaoan pulled the quilt tightly around herself, her exposed skin bearing unexplained purple marks. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at Li Xing standing by the door. The coachman knelt tremulously nearby. Your Highness. The instant he heard my voice, Li Xing violently yanked the sword from his subordinate's hand and thrust it without hesitation into the coachman's abdomen. Princess consort. You. Li Xing turned, his furious words halting abruptly as his gaze fell behind me. His face drained of color. He hastily knelt on the floor, his voice trembling. Your humble son pays his respects to His Majesty the Emperor. I knelt beside him, lowering my head to conceal the coldness in my eyes. The Emperor toyed with his prayer beads, his expression inscrutable as he stared at Li Xing. The silence around us was terrifying. Li Xing's body trembled slightly. After a moment, the Emperor finally spoke. I never knew my son, who loves poetry and romance, possessed such a ruthless side. Li Xing's face drained of color, fine beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Your humble son was merely overcome in the moment. But the Emperor paid no heed to his pleas. His voice deep and commanding. Execute this worthless concubine. Eunuchs behind him made to step forward. Li Xing's eyes turned crimson. He opened his mouth, yet ultimately dared not intercede. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. So this was the depth of his devotion. Lin Miaoan, even more terrified, rolled onto the floor, disregarding the slipping quilt as she kowtowed repeatedly. Please spare my life. Your Majesty. Please spare my life. As the eunuch prepared to strike, I bowed low to intercede. Father, do not lose your temper. Today is a day of celebration, bloodshed is unwelcome. That maid does seem rather lovely. Why not take her in as a concubine? All three turned to me in surprise. My expression remained composed. I knew the Emperor would surely agree. He had always feared our Ning family, so it was in my previous life. And so it was on this wedding night. Even though I had married a prince who appeared incompetent. Now, this prince seemed less incompetent than he appeared. The Emperor must have grown wary of Li Xing. After a moment, the Emperor sighed, helped me up, and looked at me with affection. Since Hans Huang has spoken, I shall spare this lowly servant's life. As for Li Xing, he shall be confined to his quarters for a month to reflect on his actions. Li Xing exhaled in relief. Thank you, Father Emperor. Only after the Emperor departed did I rise to support Li Xing. He staggered 2 steps before steadying himself, his face an unusual pallor. I feigned reproach. How could your highness be so reckless? I merely wished to warn you of the emperor's arrival. But never imagined. Li Xing forced a smile. Yes. This prince was indeed reckless. Pfft. Li Xing clutched his chest, suddenly spewing a mouthful of blood before collapsing heavily. Your highness. Quick. Summon the physician. I ordered the servants to carry him back to his chambers, standing rooted to the spot as I suppressed the excitement surging within me. Over a decade of concealing my talents, all ruined by my own sword, no wonder he spat blood in rage. Behind us, Lin Miaowan had long since fainted. That night, the prince's mansion was in utter chaos. Huaner took advantage of the commotion to clear all the medicine from the room. Li Xing awoke the next day, clasping my hand as he solemnly promised. Rest assured, Hans Huang, even if that lowly maid was forced upon me, you remain my only wife in my heart. Last night, unaware of the circumstances, I mistakenly believed my men had offended that servant girl. And so, I gently tucked the quilt around him, my gaze fixed on him. Intense. Your servant believes you, your highness. Should you deceive me? May you meet a wretched end. Li Xing's expression stiffened. Just teasing your highness. Look how nervous you are. I dabbed the sweat from his forehead with a silk handkerchief, my smile not reaching my eyes. Li Xing gave an awkward chuckle, oblivious to the shadow that flickered in my gaze. After Lin Miaowan awoke, she gritted her teeth and accepted the reality of becoming Li Xing's concubine. When she came to present tea to me, she bowed her head submissively. Please accept this tea, sister. I appraised her from head to toe, then slowly reached out to take the cup. The instant our fingers touched, the cup predictably fell to the floor, spilling most of its contents. Fortunately, I was prepared, and only a small splash reached my skirt. Miss Huaner, standing nearby, hurried over to wipe the damp hem of my skirt, her anger directed at Lin Miaowan. You were blind as a bat when you were a maid, and now that you're a concubine, you're still clumsy. You were born to be lowly. I chuckled inwardly. Huaner's tongue was as sharp as ever. Lin Miaowan's face flushed alternately crimson and pale, her chest heaving with rage. You! How dare you! A mere maid! Insult your mistress! I idly fiddled with the jeweled hairpins in my hair, glancing up at her with a casual look. Mistress? You're nothing but a whore who slept with every man in the palace and nearly got stabbed to death. The color drained from Lin Miaowan's face as she seemed to recall that shameful night. Her eyes burned with venom when she looked at me. I took a small sip of the tea Huaner offered. Since you can't serve tea properly, kneel outside holding this cup. Lin Miaowan refused, so Huaner pinned her down and delivered 2 sharp slaps. Gritting her teeth, Lin Miaowan knelt outside under the scorching sun. Take note, this mansion has only one mistress, the princess consort. Li Xing, who had rushed over upon receiving the news, witnessed this scene, seeing Lin Miaowan gaze at him with tear-filled eyes. A flicker of pity crossed his gaze. Before he could speak, I threw myself into his arms, suppressing my nausea as I murmured softly, Your Highness. I too wish to spare my sister hardship. But after Father Emperor's fierce anger these past days, if we show no sign of appeasement, I left the rest unsaid. Yet Li Xing's expression suddenly darkened. Rumors had been circulating lately that Li Xing treated his subordinates' families too generously, causing him to forget the emperor's attitude that night. After deep contemplation, he looked at Ning Hanshuang with remorse. The princess consort means well. You should heed her advice. With that, he seemed unable to meet Lin Miaowan's eyes and hurried away. Lin Miaowan's face turned deathly pale, her body swaying unsteadily. I passed her with a cold smile. A month later, the maid assigned to Lin Miaowan brought news. Lin Miaowan was pregnant. I froze, the needle piercing through the embroidery and into my fingertip. I sucked the blood droplet from my finger. Expressionless. A cold smile curved my lips. Pregnant? How could those two beasts possibly deserve a child? This past month, I had my father informed to rally other ministers in court and spare no effort in denouncing Li Xing. Simultaneously, I spread rumors about Li Xing's benevolent deeds far and wide. Now, it was time to close the net. Huaner, send invitations to all the consorts, inviting them for tea in 2 days. Yes, Your Highness. 2 days later, at the banquet, seated at the head table, I conversed animatedly with several of the wives. The prince and princess consort are truly kind-hearted. They took in the families of their departed subordinates and even granted them the status of concubines. I smiled. I merely followed the prince's instructions. It is his benevolence that cannot bear to see the families of his men left destitute and alone. One lady shot a scornful glance at Lin Miaowan below, dressed in gaudy finery. Lowering her voice, she offered a kind warning, Your Highness. The prince is a man. We must guard against him. I suspect this woman is no good. Indeed. Dressed like a peacock. The other ladies all wore looks of disdain as Lin Miaowan approached. Accompanied by her maidservant, Lin Miaowan offered a casual curtsy, Your Highness. I wish to speak with you privately. I paused in surprise, then nodded apologetically to the other ladies before following Lin Miaowan to the lakeside. Once alone, Lin Miaowan finally revealed her true colors, a twisted grin spreading across her hideous face. Ning Hans Huang, your good days are numbered. Sooner or later, I'll repay you 100-fold for the humiliation you've inflicted these past days. I raised an eyebrow, glancing at her abdomen with a mocking smile. Relying on the child in your womb? Lin Miaowan's pupils contracted. She hadn't yet grasped how I knew of her pregnancy. The next moment, her expression shifted dramatically upon hearing my words. How do you know this child will be born? Before she could react, I pushed her into the lake without hesitation. I watched her struggle desperately, my face expressionless. Help! Help me! Help! Her maid stood nearby, head bowed as if she hadn't seen anything. Only when I saw someone notice this side did I shout. Help! Someone's drowning. The ladies and attendants rushed over, finding me sitting by the lake, frantically pointing at Lin Miaowan, who was about to be submerged. Quick! Save her! The servants, disregarding gender distinctions, swiftly jumped in and pulled the unconscious Lin Miaowan ashore. Then, someone cried out, Blood! Only then did everyone notice the steady stream of blood flowing from between Lin Miaowan's legs. The ladies' expressions varied. Whispers and murmurs filled the air. I covered my mouth with a silk handkerchief to hide the smile tugging at my lips. After seeing the ladies off, I sat on the swing pretending to doze until Huaner told me there was a commotion over there. Only then did I rise slowly. Standing at the doorway, I listened to Lin Miaowan's heart-wrenching wails and the venomous accusations of my wickedness laced within her words. I sneered coldly. What did this matter compared to the dozens of lives my Ning family had claimed? Your Highness! It was Ning Hans Huang. Ning Hans Huang pushed me. Our child is gone. Your Highness! Go kill her. Kill her. Li Xing burst out, his eyes bloodshot. He collided with me, panic etched on his face as he struggled to suppress his rage. Hans Huang, when did you arrive? I knelt before him, my voice hoarse. Your Highness, it was my negligence that caused my sister to lose her child. I truly didn't know she was carrying a child that night, nor that she attempted suicide by jumping into the lake. I vowed to pray daily before the Buddha for her safety. My timing was perfect as 2 tears fell. The suspicion and fury in Li Xing's eyes visibly lessened. He helped me up, his voice softening considerably. This wasn't your fault. None of us knew she was pregnant. Before he could finish, A shriek pierced the room. Concubine Lin had fainted. It seemed Lin Miaoan had overheard everything from her room. Watching Li Xing rush inside, I turned away coldly. Whether the child was his or not, the fact remained that Lin Miaoan had been with 2 men that night. That was the thorn in his heart. Besides, who could prove I pushed her? She called me out in front of everyone. And the maidservant was my person. Within half a day, the entire capital began to whisper. Li Xing had long been having an affair with his subordinate's wife, even fathering a child. Marrying the princess was merely a cover. That night, Li Xing staggered into my chambers, reeking of alcohol. Hans Huang. Hans Huang. He slumped against my shoulder, murmuring my name with feigned tenderness. My gaze hardened, yet my voice remained concerned. Your Highness, drinking so much is bad for your health. Li Xing lifted his head, tenderly caressing my cheek before gazing at the moonlight. Pitiful bones by the wooding river. Still the dream of a maiden in spring. My blood froze instantly as I clenched my fists. He buried his face in my neck. I felt the dampness on my skin. Hans Huang. I'm so pathetic. So useless. If only I had a birth mother like the crown princes. A queen mother. Then perhaps I could fulfill my ambitions. Fighting alongside the soldiers on the frontier. Why? Why must heaven be so unjust to me? No. It is fair. Heaven allowed me to meet you. As in my past life. I stroked his head and gave the same answer as before. It's all right. I'll help your Highness. This time, I still granted his wish. Li Xing's eyes flashed with wild joy as he leaned down to kiss me urgently. But I sidestepped him without a trace of hesitation. He carried me toward the bed. My gaze fell heavily upon the burning incense. Only when the man collapsed onto me did I shove him away forcefully, kicking him with disgust. I threw on my cloak and strode swiftly out the back door. I boarded a boat at the shore and sat directly beside an exquisitely dressed young noble. Seeing him mesmerized by the central performance, I spoke calmly. Your Highness, let us collaborate. Without hesitation, the crown prince rose to leave. I took a sip from my teacup. Speaking unhurriedly, does your Highness not wish to know the cure for the plague? The crown prince abruptly halted, whirling to fix me with a piercing stare. How could the princess consort of Xing know this? I met his gaze unflinchingly, because the plague in the western suburbs was orchestrated by Li Xing. The crown prince's eyes widened in shock. I repeated, Your Highness. Let us collaborate. The crown prince frowned, neither agreeing nor refusing. I slowly pushed a note toward him. After a moment's hesitation, he chose to open it. Lu Dashan. The crown prince read the name aloud. Who is this man? I rose slowly. Find him, and half your path to the throne will be secured. With that, I turned away without looking back at the crown prince's expression, disappearing into the darkness. I was certain the crown prince would cooperate, for in my previous life, he'd been ordered to suppress bandits in the western suburbs. But when a plague suddenly erupted there, many of his men fell ill, and the campaign dragged on indefinitely. Some suggested massacring the entire village, but the crown prince refused. Ultimately, he too contracted the plague and died. This truth only came to light when Li Xing, after ascending the throne, revealed it in a drunken moment. As for Lu Dashan, in the previous life, Li Xing dispatched countless secret guards to hunt him down, even issuing an order to execute him on sight. I suspect this man must hold something in his grasp that holds Li Xing's life in his hands, causing such deep apprehension. That very night, I sent word back to the general's mansion to inform my father. The next morning during court, my father directly submitted a joint memorial accusing the crown prince of incompetence. The emperor flew into a rage and ordered the crown prince confined to his quarters for reflection. When the emperor asked who would lead troops to suppress the bandits, the usually reserved Li Xing stepped forward and pledged his commitment. Your humble son volunteers to lead the campaign against the bandits. I will also accompany the imperial physicians to eradicate the plague in the western suburbs, standing shoulder to shoulder with our subjects through thick and thin. These words delighted the emperor immensely. True to expectations, within a month of leading his troops, Li Xing not only eradicated the bandits in the western suburbs but also lived and ate alongside the plague-stricken villagers until the epidemic was completely eradicated. This feat further elevated his prestige among the common people. Upon his triumphant return, the emperor not only bestowed numerous treasures upon him but also invited him to accompany the imperial party on the autumn hunt. It was well known that in previous years, it was the crown prince who had accompanied the emperor on these hunts. For a time, Li Xing basked in the glory of his success throughout the court and the realm. In stark contrast to him was the crown prince, rumored to have fallen ill from depression. He now sat before me, legs crossed, leisurely sketching a landscape painting. "Are you not anxious, Your Highness?" The crown prince arched an eyebrow, finished the final stroke of his painting, and spoke slowly. "I trust Miss Ning has her reasons for acting thus." I froze for a moment. "Rest assured, Your Highness. He will soon fall from his lofty position. That will be the true beginning of his suffering." The crown prince held his brush, shooting me a half-smile, half-glare. "TSK. Miss Ning is truly heartless. Should I ever offend you, please inform me. I wouldn't want to die a wronged ghost." Having grown accustomed to his tone, I couldn't be bothered to retort. 3 days later, the Empress would personally select a husband for Princess Ninghua. I examined the 2 sets of garments delivered from the shop, selecting them with care. Lin Miaoan, having just finished her confinement period, followed Prince Li Xing. When she spotted me, a fierce glint flared in her eyes. She tugged at Li Xing's sleeve coquettishly. "Your Highness, I wish to attend as well. I haven't been out since losing our child." At the mention of the child, a fleeting pang of guilt crossed Li Xing's face. Perhaps it was because he had been so triumphant lately that he dared to give me a direct order. "Hans Huang, take Miaoan to see the clothes." I obediently replied, "Yes." I pointed to the purple flowing gown. "Keep this one." "I'll take it." No sooner had I spoken than Lin Miaoan giggled coquettishly. "What a coincidence. I like this set too. Surely you won't begrudge me a single garment, sister?" Saying this, she turned to Li Xing with eyes brimming with feigned sorrow. I also looked at Li Xing. Li Xing cleared his throat softly. "It's just a set of clothes. Give it to Miaoan. The consort can simply choose another." I lowered my gaze, unable to discern his expression. "Yes." Lin Miaoan wore a look of triumph, shooting me a defiant glance before turning haughtily to leave. Huaner stamped her foot in frustration beside me. A faint smile touched my lips as I watched their retreating figures with a distant gaze. On the day of the banquet, I wore the white rui gown Lin Miaoan had rejected, understated yet dignified. Lin Miaoan, however, seemed determined to wear every piece of jewelry in her possession. Sharing the carriage, her venomous glare threatened to flame me alive. Yet my blood boiled with excitement. Yes, this was it. This was why I deserved a second chance at life. "Ning Hans Huang, I will make you pay with my son's life." Lin Miaoan gritted her teeth. I slowly opened my eyes, the murderous intent in my gaze making Lin Miaoan's face go pale. She seemed to recall that day when I stood on the riverbank, coldly watching her sink to the bottom. I twirled the bead bracelet on my wrist, lowering my eyes with icy detachment. Once inside the palace banquet, Lin Miaoan parted ways with me to chat with her ladies-in-waiting. As the prince's favored concubine, she naturally had no shortage of admirers. But they were all low-ranking ladies, those of any stature looked down on her. Lin Miaoan reveled in this attention, until the announcement rang out, "Her Majesty the Empress has arrived." Everyone knelt on the ground. Only when the Empress gently commanded them to rise did they stand. The moment Lin Miaoan saw the Empress's attire, the color drained from her face. She stumbled back in panic, trying to hide behind those in front of her. But she still caught the Empress's attention. Which household's lady wears the same silk gown as this Empress, dressed even more splendidly than this Empress herself? The Queen's commanding voice sent a chill through Lin Miaoan. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the ground, her voice stuttering. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. I am the concubine of Prince Shing. In my rashness, I did not realize I wore the same silk gown as the Empress. Yet your Majesty wears it like a celestial maiden, far beyond my reach. I shall change immediately. The Empress's expression softened slightly. She waved her hand. It matters not. You may withdraw. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lin Miaoan returned to her seat, her face still pale. The incident had clearly shaken her deeply. Soon, guided by a palace maid, she changed into another outfit, removing most of her jewelry. Returning to her seat, our eyes met. I gave a mocking smile. Lin Miaoan flushed crimson. The banquet was halfway through. The matron beside the Empress unfolded a poem before us. Floating light pierces clouds, staining her makeup. Adorned in robes of gold and crimson. Someone recited it aloud. And the Empress explained. This is the first half of a poem written by the top scholar, Chen. Why not all compose the second half together? As soon as the Empress finished speaking, the princess rose shyly. Where robes drift in search of fragrance. With you I'll linger. Drunk on blossom's scent. After reciting, the princess cast a bashful glance at the top scholar beside her. The Empress smiled warmly at the pair. Seeing this, the other ladies merely offered simple couplets. Everyone sensed the Empress and princess favored the top scholar, naturally. No one dared tempt fate. But I never imagined Lin Miaoan would be so foolish. When it was her turn, she deliberately paused for effect, putting on quite the show. Where rosy clouds lie nestled in the heavens. Leisurely. Half a day's clarity in this fleeting life. The banquet seemed to fall silent for a moment. The prince consort gave her an appreciative look. What this lady has said truly captures the essence of my poem. Thrilled by the prince's praise, Lin Miaoan shot me a triumphant glance, as if seeking to salvage her lost dignity before me. Yet she failed to notice the queen and princess above, their expressions darkening considerably. Her foolishness made me laugh. Seems this drama won't even require my intervention. After the top scholar departed, the Empress's expression instantly turned cold. Since Consort Lin holds poetry in such high regard, this palace shall bestow upon you a volume of verse. Lin Miaoan's face lit up, mistakenly believing her earlier performance had earned the Empress's favor. She hastily knelt to express her gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty. Before she could finish, the Empress continued. Copy this volume 10 times in the palace today before returning to the prince's residence. With that, the Empress gave a cold snort, turned, and swept away with a stiff arm. The princess shot her a hateful glare. Passing by her, she didn't forget to warn, you wait. This princess won't let you off. Lin Miaoan's body trembled as she collapsed pale-faced onto the ground. Even now, she knew she'd caused a tremendous disaster. She frantically grabbed my skirt hem. Save me. Save me. Consort. A cold laugh escaped my lips as Xiao Huan disdainfully wrenched my skirt back from her grasp. Why weren't you afraid when you were stealing the princess's spotlight? Go on now, the matrons by the Empress's side are waiting for you. I walked forward, my laughter icy. The Empress was notorious for her cruelty. Lin Miaoan didn't return until the next day, needing a maid to support her as she entered, her face gaunt and haggard. Spotting Li Xing beside me, Lin Miaoan stumbled forward and threw herself into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Your Highness, you have no idea how I endured this night. But instead of the comfort she expected, Li Xing pushed her away. For any future banquets, the princess consort's presence will suffice. You are to remain in the mansion. Lin Miaoan tried to grab his sleeve, but he evaded her. Since your leg is injured, you will recuperate in the courtyard. You are not to go anywhere for a month. Li Xing delivered these words with a grim expression before turning away coldly. Lin Myoan's tears fell one by one, as if she couldn't believe what she'd heard. Moments later, she whipped her head around and fixed me with a furious stare. Ning Hans Huang, you're behind this, aren't you? Don't even think about driving a wedge between me and the prince. With that, Lin Myoan stormed off in a rage. I silently cursed her stupidity. Lin Myoan didn't know that because of this incident, Li Xing not only got scolded by the emperor during morning court but also became the laughingstock of his colleagues. For a moment, it seemed like he'd been knocked back to square one. It was no wonder Li Xing wouldn't give her a friendly look. That night, I received a message. Later that evening, I secretly slipped out the back door again and headed straight for the crown prince's residence. Have you found Lu Dashan? I asked urgently. Compared to my agitation, the crown prince remained composed, even pouring me a cup of tea. No need to rush. Have some tea and calm down. We found him in a remote mountain village, but he was already critically injured and unconscious. After reviving him, he gave me this. Saying this, the crown prince pushed a blood-stained piece of paper toward me. I didn't miss the flash of anger in his eyes. Without hesitation, I unfolded it. After reading every word, I clenched my fists, my face turning ashen. I couldn't help but curse. That beast! Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that the man our Ning family had helped ascend to power in my previous life was such a monster. It was written here in stark detail how Li Xing used the 170 villagers to forge weapons. Men, women, children, all perished there, save for Lu Dashan, who escaped during a guard shift change. He even suppressed the news completely, surrounding the area were his military training grounds and a half-built imperial palace. Such a pig-dog-like, treasonous act. The crown prince looked at me. I've already sent men to investigate. It's all true. What do you propose? I pressed my lips together, my tone resolute. Force him to act. These past days, I've noticed an increasing number of secret guards appearing within the prince's residence. News of Lu Dashan's actions has left Li Xing restless. Early one morning, after finishing breakfast, I stood up and felt a sudden blur before my eyes. Instantly, I fainted. Princess! Princess! When I awoke, I saw Li Xing's eyes filled with astonishment and joy. Li Xing gripped my hand tightly, his voice trembling. Hans Huang, you're with child. This prince will have a legitimate heir. My eyes widened in shock. After a long moment, I murmured, Your Highness isn't teasing me, are you? Li Xing chuckled. You still don't believe me? Huaner. Tell her. Huaner, standing behind him, beamed with joy. Your Highness. It's true. The physician just left. Li Xing spent more and more time with me, often gently touching my still flat belly. Even when Lin Myoan sought him out with various excuses, he turned her down. I teased him with a smile. Your eldest son hasn't even grown up yet. Li Xing embraced me tenderly. Once our child is born, we'll give him the finest things in the world. I chuckled, then sighed. It's a pity His Majesty fails to recognize Your Highness's talents. It's such a shame you're confined to this small world, always keeping me company. Li Xing's eyes darkened. How could it be hardship? I'm barely keeping up with enjoying it. Just as I thought this attempt would fail too, I heard Li Xing speak hesitantly. Hans Huang, if I were to rebel, would you still stand by me? I fought to suppress my excitement, feigning shock as I lifted my head. After a long moment, I clung tightly to him. Whatever Your Highness chooses to do, I will always stand by you. I know you only wish to give me and our child the very best. And if I fail, then neither I nor our child will live in shame. Hearing my unwavering resolve, the prince held me even tighter. Finally, Li Xing chose the 5th day of the 6th lunar month. The crown prince had been ordered by the emperor to lead troops to the frontier 2 days prior. This was the perfect opportunity. That night, Li Xing led his men and the Ning family army into the imperial palace. But he quickly sensed something was wrong. Silence. Too much silence. An eerie stillness hung heavy. Li Xing scanned the surrounding walls, gripping his sword tightly in alertness. Suddenly, countless soldiers surged from the surrounding walls, arrows drawn and aimed squarely at them. Standing atop the ramparts was none other than my father, the man Li Xing had personally locked in the dungeon after getting him drunk. Before Li Xing could react, the Ning family soldiers he led also drew their blades, pointing them at the enemy. The tiger seal! I have the tiger seal! Li Xing's eyes blazed crimson as he raised high the half-tiger seal I had given him. But the Ning family soldiers didn't budge. I hadn't told him, the Ning family soldiers only recognized the man, never the seal. The clatter of hooves kicked up dust as the crown prince, racing back from 100 li away, surrounded them completely. Li Xing finally realized he'd been deceived, angrily flinging the token to the ground. His eyes bulging, he shouted at the city walls, "Ning Bai! You've abandoned your daughter. Don't forget she's still in my hands." I stepped slowly out from behind my father, watching the stunned Li Xing below with a faint, mocking smile. "What? Don't you understand? Even though you drugged us, why are we still here?" My gaze held a cold glint. I'd already seen what kind of man he was in my previous life. How could I possibly fall for his tricks again? When he wasn't paying attention, I secretly had someone swap out the food. Li Xing's eyes turned bloodshot as he stared at me. "Ha ha 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 ha. I never imagined I'd fall into your trap one day." Ning Han Huang. Ning Bai. Think carefully. If we cooperate, you'll become empress and I'll be imperial uncle. I exposed him without mercy. What you're really scheming is how to flay us alive later. Surrender now, and you might still have a sliver of life. Li Xing raised his sword, screaming hysterically, "Brothers, charge with me. Wealth and glory await you all." Even knowing certain death, he would try. I stood atop the ramparts, coldly observing this battle with no suspense. When I arrived at the dungeon, Li Xing, covered in blood, darkened his eyes. "Why? Have I not treated you well? You still have my child." Li Xing rasped, his voice hoarse with accusation. I curved my lips, my eyes filled with hatred. "Child?" I asked. "Every night you came to my room, I deliberately lit incense. How could there be a child? It was merely a performance for your benefit." Veins bulged on Li Xing's forehead. "Don't forget you're still my consort. You won't escape death either." I burst out laughing. "Forgot to tell you, His Majesty, grateful for my service this time, has specially granted me a divorce." Savoring Li Xing's twisted expression, I placed the food box before him. "See if you like what's inside." Li Xing frowned. After a moment, he slowly raised his hand to open the box. When he saw its contents, his face turned as pale as paper. Those eyes that had just tried to beguile me now glared at me with icy malice, veins bulging on his knuckles. I chuckled softly as I circled behind him, bending low to whisper in his ear, "Your beloved will accompany you to the underworld." I've been kind to the prince, haven't I? When I sliced her face, Your Highness had no idea how wretchedly Lin Miaowan wept, begging on her knees for mercy. Thankfully, I come from a military family, otherwise, that skin would have been ruined. "Madman! You die too!" Li Xing leapt to his feet in fury, his expression deranged as he seized my throat, eyes bloodshot. "You die too! Go pay for Miaowan's life." A golden hairpin pierced his chest, blood gushing forth, staring into his wide eyes. I thrust the pin into him again and again with all my strength. The spurting blood splattered across my face, and I felt nothing but pure satisfaction. Li Xing's body collapsed slowly before me. Panting slightly, I clutched the blood-dripping hairpin and walked out with unwavering composure. The crown prince, waiting outside, froze at my appearance before offering me a silk handkerchief with a smile. Wipe it off. Otherwise, when you go out, people might think I did something to you. I took the handkerchief and glared at him speechlessly. Could someone like this truly become the future emperor? After tidying everything, I entered the palace to see His Majesty. The emperor still smiled kindly, though the warmth didn't reach his eyes. Hans Huang, you've done a great service this time. What reward do you desire? How about becoming Crown Prince Ling's consort? Your Highness, forgive me. This servant already has someone in her heart. I knelt straight on the ground. My gaze steady, Your Majesty. This humble servant does indeed desire a reward. Please allow me to accompany my father to the frontier to defend the nation. No sooner had the words left my mouth than the crown prince looked at me in astonishment. The emperor narrowed his eyes, studying me for a long moment before speaking with the genuine concern of an elder. Han Shuang, no woman has ever led troops into battle. Wouldn't staying in the inner quarters be safer than facing the glint of blades? Ning Han Shuang, your father has a point. Think carefully before answering. Even the usually arrogant crown prince urged me with urgency. My expression remained unchanged, my gaze unwavering. Your Majesty, the Ning family has never known weakness. We stand ever ready to sacrifice for our nation, its people, and a ruler like you. Women need not be shackled by romantic entanglements. Hans Huang pledges her undivided devotion to the state. After a moment, the emperor sighed. Such is the fiery spirit of your Ning lineage. Since this is your wish, then go. I bowed in gratitude for the emperor's grace. Leaving the imperial study, I took my leave of the crown prince. His expression held regret laced with admiration. Unlike his usual detached demeanor, now utterly earnest. Safe travels. Ning Hans Huang. Truly. May you return safely. I offered a faint smile. Very well. Likewise. Your Highness. Years later, the crown prince ascended the throne without incident. Only after claiming one enemy's head after another on the battlefield did I feel that the Ning Hans Huang of my past life had finally found fulfillment. The end.